All right, Coach Ian Rapanick. Hey, you have a great first name.
That's right. That's right.
so, Coach Rapanick is head coach at Perquimans County High
Yes,
School.
sir. Yes,
I
sir.
feel like I say it wrong every time, but it is
No,
what it
you
is.
dead on.
Yeah. Coach, go ahead and do your own intro, and I'm gonna let you roll, and we'll get started.
Absolutely. So, again, my name is Ian Rapanick. I'm the head football coach at Perquimans County High School in Hertford, North Carolina. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Um, I'm talking counterplay today. I call it God's play. It's, in my opinion, the best play in football. We absolutely love it here. We run it a lot, and we have a lot of fun with it. We do a lot of different variations of it. We're a base spread team. 10 personnel mostly. We do get in some 20 personnel, 11 personnel as well. But we'll kind of get into everything as we go. My cell phone number's here, my Twitter's here. If you would like this presentation, I'm more than happy to share it with you. If you want to just talk ball, if you want to, ask more in-depth questions about what we got going on, how we do things, I'll be more than happy to help the best that I can. Kind of how we took over last year before the fall. I want to say I got the job in April is when I started teaching and really starting to meet the kids and stuff in Perquimans County. I'm originally from Chesapeake, Virginia, which is about 45 minutes north of Hertford. I'm back from my second stint at Perquimans. Was coaching there in 2017. Went back home to Virginia. Bounced around a little bit. Was a head coach at Norview and Norfolk for the 3 years before I got back to Perquimans, and really missed it. Really missed the family atmosphere. We had our first kid, my son. We kind of looked at where we want to raise him, and the people that we wanted him to be around, and for us, it was a pretty easy decision to come back if they wanted us to come back, and obviously it worked out. So we'll get into the football part. For us, why counter? A lot of people, it's a counter play, obviously based on the name, but for me and for our offensive staff, we're going to do whatever we got to do to be able to run it. If you're going to give us a 50 front, which we don't see very much, then we're going to make an adjustment and we're still going to run counter. If you're going to give us a 40 front, we're going to make an adjustment and we're still going to run it. So, we do a lot of different things. Obviously, I didn't come up with any of them. It's all stuff that I stole from other people that are way smarter than me. But, it's a big play for us. And, inside zone and counter are our two babies, I would say. It's poetry in motion, as I like to say. In my opinion, there's no better play in football when it hits. The way it looks it's beautiful. It can be extremely explosive. It could be a home run, whenever you call it. Obviously as an O-line guy, I've coached O-line really my whole coaching career. I got a great O-line coach now, so I was able to give it up. But, they obviously love to pull. They want to be seen in space. Colleges want to see them in space. And when we call it, they get excited. We're, like I said, a 10 personnel team mostly, but we run a lot of RPO stuff, which a lot of people around us don't run. And it's a great play for it. Obviously you get a lot of flow from the backside linebackers. Because of those created gaps, and then obviously on the play side, it gives you a +2, or in our case, when we get the right look, a +3 advantage, which we'll kind of get into. And then all the different things that you can do off of it, which we'll talk about some of the stuff. Some of the stuff I have film of that we ran last year, some of it I don't. So I apologize in advance. Some of, the tags we tried to work in, but we didn't wind up running them because, game plan wise, it just didn't call for it. And then, really going into the last year at Norview, we ran a lot of this stuff. So I do have experience running it. I just don't have access to that film.
Coach, can you hit present on your slideshow so it goes full screen?
Oh yeah, okay, I can do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you. I like to think I'm a technology guy, but I guess not. Is that better?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, cool. Appreciate you. How we call it at Perquimans, first thing that we want to be able to see is how they're set in the front. And for us, it can be really difficult because a lot of the teams that we play and, common opponents don't run spread. Their I formation, their wing T, their, flex bone, there's something, that we're not running. So after the first year, it's going to be a lot easier to kind of figure out how they're doing it. A lot of the time it's an in-game thing that we kind of pick up on. And that's going to indicate whether we're running same side counter, which we didn't do great at last year, to be honest with you, or obviously the traditional handoff where they come across the quarterback. And then we want to know how they're playing the edge. Are they going to box it or spill it? Obviously, if they're spilling it, we want to try and log that, or, we need to determine if it's going to be a true kick out, which we get the majority of the time, I would say. We don't necessarily make it an automatic log. The way that I like to do it is I don't want the kids to have to decide that on their own. We tag sweep with it, and that basically says, okay, the play side or the backside guard is going to reach that D in, and the tackle is going to hit outside, and it's basically going to turn into buck sweep. It's probably going to take us 2 or 3 times that we call it in a game to really see. But for the most part, like I said, a lot of people are trying to, the DN is a force player and we kick it out and, hit up inside just like everybody does. And then on the play side, are we going to double team the 3 or are we going to work gap down backer rules? Really is game plan thing for us. If it's a 3 technique, that's a really good player. We're going to try and double them. If not, we like to work the gap down backer rules. That's like the wing T guy in me, I guess. With that, it gives the ability for the play side of the O-line to kind of decide, obviously game plan wise, we may say, okay, we're going to double him this week, or, we may think he's a pretty good player, or we may think that he's just an average player and we're going to, make that decision based on a game plan. But y'all know how games go. It may change halfway through the game. It may, wind up staying the same like we expected or change it completely. Excuse me. And then if they're a base 50 front, we want to be able to account for that backside 3 technique. And if we're going to do that, then we're going to add an H-back and we're going to go what we call long or hug. Long is saying that the tackle and the H-back are the ones that are pulling, and hug is saying that the guard and the H-back are the ones that are pulling. So we'll kind of get into our base stuff. We call counter, crown, and cola. We signal everything here. That's automatic backside guard and tackle pulling, just like, everybody in America runs it. It's base counter. We're going to kick out the in-man on the line of scrimmage, and we're going to wrap inside of that for the play side linebacker. Again, based on game plan, we can double the 3 technique, or we can work our gap down back rules. And then we're always reading the backside DN. We have ways that we can manipulate that backside DN if he's like a really hard scraper. But a lot of the time, my quarterback is not the best athlete in the world, but I tell him, hey, I don't need you to be a freak athlete. I just need you to be an able runner. I need when the DN squeezes, I need you to be able to pull the ball and get us a couple yards, which you'll see when I flip over to the film here in a second. All right, so a lot of this stuff is based out of a 4-4. That's what we see. I told Coach Tatum last night when we kind of looked at this that, it's like time stood still in Northeast North Carolina when it comes to defenses. But this is our base run with what we call crown and cola. Again, counter to the right is crown, counter to the left is cola. We got to be able to signal it. We do a lot of different tempo stuff, and we'll do a lot more this year. But you get a look of gap down backer on the play side. Is there anybody in your gap? Everybody knows how those rules work. We're going to pull, kick out the play side DN, and then we're going to pull a wrap for the play side linebacker. We were doing the away and come play with the running back. We're looking at doing it a little bit more like inside zone footwork this year, especially when we run same side. It seemed like it's going to flow a little bit better that way. And one thing also, full transparency, a lot of this stuff is not going to be beautiful. I wanted to give y'all clips so you can see what it looks like in game, but it's not going to be perfect. And I know that. Here is, again, our base. You may see an RPO or two coming off the backside of this, but you'll be able to see, the gist of it and how it would look in game. Here we're running crown. We get a pretty good pickup. Running back makes a play. I'd love to see our right tackle here. Stay on this down block on the 3 technique. Film guy still needs a little bit of work, so bear with me. There's your kick. Kind of turns into a double kick there because that play side linebacker walks up. A lot of people kind of freak out when it comes to that stuff, but you can see here in the box, it's a home run because the only person that can make the play is a safety. Again, if our play side tackle stays on that DN, we're in great shape here. Running back's a really good player that we got coming back. So we're excited about him. He breaks that little tackle and gets us about, I think it was 18 yards or so. And then another clip, you can see our quarterback, again, not the most athletic guy in the world. This was our 3rd round playoff game, but we're running it with a little bubble RPO right here into the boundary. Quarterback pulls the ball. I'd love to see number 3 throw a block on the safety so we can go score. Instead, he gets in the way. But again, right, I mean, you see right now this DN on the read side, it's 100% running back the whole way. Make him wrong, pull the ball. This is our first drive of the game, I think. Pretty big play for us on 1st and 10. I don't know what happened in the corner or the safety there, but again, love to see the blocking downfield a little bit better. But if it ain't for the DN, we block it pretty well on the play side, I would say. So again, that's our base. I'm kind of going back and forth between this presentation as well as the film. So bear with me going back and forth. And this is a variation that we did not run at Perquimans last year. This is CT counters, we call it. It's basically the backside guard and the center changing responsibilities. So if you have a center who is an athlete who can snap the ball and run, we had one at Norview a couple years ago, and I didn't really realize how good we had it. But if we weren't able to get a beat on how they were set in the front, we were just going to call crown and cola like we do, and the center and the guard were going to decide who's pulling. And if we called it 2-1, meaning there was a 3 on the backside, the backside guard was going to stay and block out on the 3, and the center was going to pull and kick out. Like I said, they're just switching responsibilities. Center would make a me call, just communication again. It's not anything groundbreaking. Makes a me call saying that the backside guard's staying. Nobody else's responsibility changes. Obviously you got to rep it. We would set it up to where we knew, during team or inside run or whatever it was, that the defense was going to have a 3 on the backside, so then we could look at it. But if you have the ability and a center that can do this, it's really pretty when it hits. I will say that, just because so many teams read guards, and when your guard doesn't pull, they don't really know what to do. The time is a little bit smoother as well. You don't have to worry about everything kind of getting jumbled up in the backfield with the backside guard and tackle. Gives a little bit more time, just because that center can clear a lot faster on the pull. But if you have the ability to do it, I mean, it's beautiful. A great variation of the play. I have it drawn up here. Again, I don't have any film for it, so I apologize for that. But you can see the one, obviously you got to have a play side guard who's going to be able to take that one-on-one, basically watch them straight down the line of scrimmage. Center can pull and kick, and then, again, the tackle is going to wrap for the play side. That play side linebacker. And to me, it makes it a little bit more of an A-gap play, which I like. The way we teach it is kind of A to B gap, almost similar to inside zone, but it really makes it a little bit more downhill just because, you're replacing the center with the guard. And then, if you get a good down block on that one, it's going to be straight out the front door. All right, so the next variation we got is same side. again, we ran it last year. It wasn't great for us. The footwork with the running back was something that we really looked at over this off season and are still looking at. But you can run this out of 10, 11, or 20. Our two-back stuff was really good to us last year. We do a lot of our variation stuff out of two-back, which I'll get to kind of later on. But our 11 personnel stuff, obviously you can do it out of that too. Just depends on how you're going to block it and how you want, who's pulling and that kind of stuff based on the running back on the same side of it. He's just got to be a little bit more patient. Obviously, we have nothing holding the backside D end on this play. One thing that we're looking at doing this year is kind of Wake Forest like how they do that slow mesh stuff and have the the quarterback basically block that backside D end with his back. I think it's something that could be really good for us. Obviously, tendency wise, we're going to have something coming off of it just so people aren't running and taking our quarterback's head off. When you get into a situation where you're reading D ends and stuff like that, a lot of times they're going to come up the field and just sit. But like I showed you on the last clip, they'll squeeze sometimes also, and that would be an opportunity for that quarterback to quote unquote block them with his back. Again, gives you ability to break tendencies with us being a spread team. And in the past, really, we've had a lot of people who start to blitz away from the back. They know everything's coming across the quarterback. So we started with putting it in same side zone with inside zone. And then, we looked at, well, if we can run it with inside zone, why can't we run it with everything else? And I kind of put how we're going to be run it in the backfield this year. Running back will cross over downhill and kind of bend it back versus that normal how we ran it last year. They come across the quarterback and then bend back. It's just there's a lot of trash kind of in the inside that we had to get rid of. So again, I'll go back to the drawing of it so y'all can see that. I do have a clip of it. We're running RPO off of it as well. I want to say we throw the RPO in this clip, but like I said, this footwork by the back, it ain't great. I'd love to see him, come across. A lot of times our quarterback will tell the running back, hey, I'm throwing the smoke on this, is what we call it, the bubble. But kind of get an idea. It's a pretty good kick out. That kid that plays the guard that's on the kick out right there was a really good player for us. We're going to miss him. He's going to be playing next year, so that's a good deal. But the way we had been running it, and I can kind of show you with my mouse here, he would come across 1-2, put his right foot in the ground and come back. And it wasn't great. We kind of got into the same side counter this year, which we hadn't, or I specifically hadn't, really before with counter. But again, it breaks tendencies. It causes people not to be able to just bring pressure all day away from the running back. So, for us, we wanted to be able to do those things. That's what we looked at. We're still kind of ironing out the details of how the backfield's going to work. So we ran Y counter also. It's basically out of our bunch formations. We'll pre-snap motion the back out of the backfield a lot of the time, push motion, whatever you want to call it. A lot of the times those linebackers are bumping, and then, that the wide receivers coming back across and taking the ball, and we're running counter. Again, best part about it, doesn't change anything for the O-line. I think as O-line guys, we always want to look out for them. We always want to make sure that they're just able to play. They know their rules. They block their rules, and that's the extent of it. So me being an O-line guy, coaching O-line, playing O-line, obviously, I want to make sure that everything that we do, we're not changing too much for those guys. But this wound up being a very explosive play for us. And again, we pre-snap motion the back out of the backfield. The Y, which is our number 3 receiver, what we call him, he's coming to get the ball. And again, we're just running counter. But different, cute, whatever you want to call it, ways of calling it. We had pretty good amount of success. running this variation of it. And, when it hit, it was pretty. So there's a pre-snap motion out of the backfield. I want to say this was the first week that we ran it. Got a good kick out by that backside guard, I'd love to see that backside tackle turn up a little bit sooner, a little bit tighter. I'd also love to see this number 5, the Y, really run. He's one of them guys that you love, but sometimes he drives you crazy. But he was our guy that ran it because he played running back a little bit as well. But angle by the play side guard, I don't think is great. Again, we ran this. I want to say this was the first week that we ran it. I'd love to see him stay a little bit higher on that angle, expecting that backside linebacker to come back. But, I love also to see our Z receiver up top block somebody instead of dancing right there. But, we're still working. We're still getting better. And, some different variations of the counter play, which is what we're here for. So, this was our third round playoff game as well. It hits a little bit cleaner here. There's a pre-snap push motion out of the backfield. Here's the Y coming across. Don't love the kick out there. Kid kind of makes a play, and we get a pretty good run out of it. One thing that we tell our tackles is obviously we can't do this where he just kind of sits up in the hole and stops. But a pretty good block down the field there by our play side tackle. And
about 10 minutes. About 10 minutes, Coach.
Okay. Appreciate it. Again, I think everybody in America, when you run a play like this that you're setting up a lot, you love to see this play go the distance. And I promise you, I'm right there with you. And I think every coach on our staff, as well as player on our staff, is thinking the same thing. But again, we wound up finishing the year, decent from what we expected based on the beginning of the year. So, I guess you got to see the silver lining sometimes. So, next variation is quarterback counter. Again, we can run it out of 10 personnel. We can run it out of empty. We do both. When we do this, we're going to send some kind of jet motion or orbit motion to hold that backside D end. Sometimes, honestly, we don't, just to see what that D end's going to do. When you're pulling 2 people, obviously on counter, you want to make sure that you have something holding that D end so he can't fold in to make the play. I actually saw a video from Coach Tatum a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, with the bash concept, and we're going to put that in. We do a couple of different things, I guess, that you could consider bash that we'll get to next. But with our 10 personnel stuff, that push motion out of the backfield, a lot of the time is what it comes from, or the jet or orbit. But a lot of the time before we're running that orbit motion, it's going to be to throw the swing or to throw the triple off the backside, which I'll get to here in a second as well. There it is. Again, nothing groundbreaking. Everybody does it. Got to hold the backside D in, send the jet motion, come back, and let's go play ball. Again, y'all saw a couple plays ago, my quarterback is not a freak athlete by any means. He does a good job. He makes good decisions. He goes to school. He tries hard. He does all that stuff so he can play for us. So this is kind of where your bash concept comes into. We got this from Clemson. When they were running with Deshaun Watson, I think they did it with Trevor Lawrence also, but it's just a different way of reading the backside D end. So we call this toss, crown, or colo, depending on which way we're running the counter. To me, it helps you out a lot because a lot of the time, if you're tossing that ball on the backside, it's outrunning those angles of the linebackers as well. We get a lot of squeeze scrape sometimes. So a lot of the times that linebacker that's falling and scraping back over isn't able to make the play on the toss. I know I'm going a little bit faster now, but I want to be able to show y'all as much as we can.
Coach, you got a question about your when you do the push motion?
Yes, sir.
Coach asked, "Are you going to fake the pass after you hand the ball off to the running back?"
So the majority of the time when we push motion, it's an RPO for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell the quarterback, if you see any kind of rotations we don't see any of because everybody's playing cover 3 or cover 1 or 0 like you see here, it's a pre-snap RPO, I guess, quote unquote, if you want to call it that. If he sees any kind of movement going with the push motion, then he's running the counter. If he doesn't see any movement with the push motion, then we're throwing it out there right now. I guess, again, you could call it a bass concept if you wanted to. You get 2 plays in one. But for the most part, with the wide crown and cola like we ran with the bunch formation, there's no read with that. It's an automatic give.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So this is the toss. Again, we're reading that backside DN with the toss fake. Anything telling the quarterback, hey, he's not playing the running back, we're tossing it. And right now, we get a pretty good hit there. Love to see a better angle by my H up top. Have interest in blocking the safety right there, and we got a pretty good play for us. So, you still get it. I don't love my quarterback's feet here. We teach them shuffle with the counter to give time with the toss to give time for the backside tackle and guard to get across. This was our first game of the season, so it wasn't beautiful by any means. But it gives you an idea of kind of how we block those things. I want to say he keeps it on this one. Yeah. Even worse on the feet here. I want to say he saw that linebacker walk up, but you know what they say. We got no clue. Again, play side tackle. I'd love to see him take his outside hand and turn him a little bit. But it's a pretty good idea of what you would get there. You got your 3 receivers blocking up top. You got the toss action there, pulling, in this case, the DN and the outside linebacker. I'm not sure if they know who the contained player is. And then there it goes. All right, let's see what the next one is. All right, so this is our 11 personnel stuff. We call it long. Why we call it long, I'm not 100% sure, but it tells the tackle and the H-back that they're the ones that are pulling. We can tag the toss with this as well, which a lot of people started to pick up tendency-wise, is we'll still run the toss action, and if the quarterback doesn't pitch the ball, then he's running the counter and we're running crown and cola long. The backside guard stays, blocks out on the 3, or if it's a 50 front, the center's going to base the nose and the guard will block out on the 3, and we still have our two pulling. Pretty good variation for us this past year. We run it against a 50 front and a 40 front. It really just depended. There's a normal one. Again, like I said, I know it's not beautiful, but I wanted to give y'all some ideas of what it would look like. I don't love the running back's path here. If we stay on the kick out, we got a pretty good play. Here's another one of it. I want to say we caught him in a twist game, that play. Yeah. Winds up hitting a little bit more A-gap there because of the twist game, obviously. Again, love to see the left tackle make a decision here. But again, there's a long, we work the gap down backer rules. We work the double team on the play side. This is a hug variation that we run. The guard's kicking out, tackle staying, either blocking out the DN, or if we get a 30 front and they're running 4s, and then we'll base block the 4 with the tackle, and then you get the H-back pulling as well. This is our super counter. So I got this from one of my buddies. He always says that if you're even, we got 3 leaving. So We're going to block back on the 1, just like always. We'll double, or we're gap down backer on the 3 on the play side. We'll pull and kick with the guard. We'll pull and right with a tackle. And then our H-back is that extra fill guy, whatever you want to call it. We don't really teach the H-back a person or, any specific player to block. We just tell them first opposite color jersey, he's yours. And a lot of the time, sometimes it may wind up on the safety. Sometimes it may wind up where, if we get an extra linebacker in the box because we're going 11 personnel, then we're still whole. There's your super counter. Again, it's a little bit slower to hit, but when it does, it's pretty.
All right, Coach. I'm about to bump you off.
All right, that's fine. I had 2 more, but again, guys, if y'all have any questions, if I can help at all, if you want to see the other 2 that we had, please do not hesitate. Call me. If you don't mind, I'm going to pull up my information one more time.
Yeah, there you
go. And there it is again. My cell phone number, that's my work phone. So text, call, whatever you want to do. I'll be happy to help. My email, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Coach Tatum, again, thank you so much for putting this on, man. It's been a lot of fun. Learned a lot of football, even over the couple hours that I've been watching. So, I appreciate it. Appreciate y'all watching. And again, if there's anything I can do to help, do not hesitate to reach out to us. We're pretty much an open book over here.
Appreciate you, Coach.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.